If you're dreaming of starting a new life in Australia, 2025 is the year you can't afford to make mistakes. The rules for permanent residency have changed so dramatically, even seasoned migration agents are scrambling to keep up. Imagine spending months preparing your application, only to be blindsided by a new rule you never saw coming. In this video, I'll break down the 7 most important changes to Australia's PR process, what they really mean, who they affect, and how you can stay ahead of the curve. Don't risk your future. Watch until the end. Let's start by setting the stage for why these changes matter more than ever. Australia has always been a top destination for skilled migrants, students, and families seeking a better life. But in 2025, the landscape has shifted. The government isn't just tweaking the system, they're rewriting the playbook. If you thought last year's requirements were tough, this year's are on a whole new level. The competition is fierce, and the stakes are higher. Every detail counts, and missing even one small update could mean the difference between a successful application and a heartbreaking rejection. It's not just about filling out forms or ticking boxes anymore. The Department of Home Affairs is laser-focused on who gets in, why they're needed, and how they'll contribute to Australia's future. This isn't just bureaucracy, it's a strategic move to shape the country's workforce, economy, and society for years to come. So, whether you're a skilled worker, a student, or someone hoping to reunite with family, you need to know exactly what's changed and how to adapt. I'll walk you through each of the 7 new rules, explain the logic behind them, and give you practical tips to avoid the most common pitfalls. By the end, you'll be armed with the knowledge you need to make your PR journey in 2025 as smooth and successful as possible. Let's dive into the first major rule change, the new points system overhaul. In 2025, Australia has recalibrated how points are awarded for skilled migration, and it's not just a minor adjustment. The government has shifted the emphasis toward occupations that are in critical demand, meaning that some professions now receive a significant points boost, while others have seen their value drop overnight. For example, healthcare and construction roles are now prioritized, while some IT and business roles have been downgraded. This means that applicants who were previously competitive may now find themselves below the invitation threshold, while others who never stood a chance before are suddenly in the running. The message is clear. Australia wants to fill very specific gaps in its workforce, and the points system is now a precision tool for doing just that. If you're planning to apply, you need to check the latest occupation lists and recalculate your points before submitting anything. Don't rely on last year's advice or outdated calculators. One small miscalculation could cost you your chance. We'll look at how the English language requirements have changed, and why even native speakers are feeling the pressure in 2025. The second rule you absolutely need to know is the raised bar for English language proficiency. In 2025, Australia has made it clear. Strong English skills are no longer just a bonus, they're a necessity. The minimum required scores for popular tests like IELTS, PTE, and TOEFL have all increased, and in some visa subclasses, only superior English will get you the points you need. This isn't just about passing a test, it's about proving you can thrive in a competitive, English-speaking workforce. Even applicants from English-speaking countries are being asked for recent, high-level test results. The government's reasoning? They want new migrants to integrate quickly, contribute immediately, and avoid language barriers that can slow down economic growth. For many, this new rule is a shock. Imagine having years of experience in your field, but missing out on PR because your English score is half a band too low. The pressure is real, and the test prep industry is booming as a result. If you're planning to apply, start preparing for your English test early, and don't underestimate the difficulty. We'll explore the changes to occupation lists, and how they're reshaping who gets invited to call Australia home. Now let's talk about the third rule, the dramatic shakeup of Australia's skilled occupation lists. In 2025, the government has taken a scalpel to these lists, trimming, reshaping, and reprioritizing them in ways that have left thousands of applicants, and even employers scrambling. Occupations that were once considered a golden ticket to PR, like certain IT roles or business analysts, have been downgraded or removed entirely. Meanwhile, trades, healthcare, and regional-specific roles have surged in priority. This isn't just a bureaucratic shuffle. It's a direct response to Australia's economic needs, housing shortages, and labor market gaps. The message is clear. If your skills don't match what Australia needs right now, your pathway to PR just got a lot steeper. For many, this means rethinking career plans, upskilling, or even changing industries to stay eligible. Employers, too, are feeling the pinch, as their ability to sponsor foreign talent is now tightly linked to these ever-changing lists. If you're considering applying, you must check the latest occupation lists before making any move. The fourth rule is all about employer-sponsored visas, which have long been seen as a fast track to Australian PR. But in 2025, the process has become more complex and demanding for both employers and applicants. The government has introduced stricter compliance checks, higher sponsorship costs, and more rigorous documentation requirements. Employers now need to prove not only that they genuinely need a foreign worker, but also that they've exhausted all reasonable options to hire locally. For applicants, this means more paperwork, longer waiting times, and a greater risk of rejection over technicalities. The days of quick approvals are over. Every detail is scrutinized, and even minor errors can lead to costly delays. This shift is designed to protect local jobs and ensure that only the most essential roles are filled by overseas talent. For businesses, the added red tape can be frustrating, especially in industries facing acute skill shortages. For workers, the uncertainty and extended timelines can be nerve-wracking. If you're considering the employer-sponsored route, make sure your paperwork is flawless and your employer is fully prepared for the new compliance landscape. Next, we'll look at how regional migration pathways have changed and why they're no longer the easy option they once were. The fifth rule centers on regional migration pathways, which have undergone a significant transformation in 2025. For years, moving to regional Australia was promoted as a shortcut to PR, with extra points, faster processing, and a promise of a simpler life away from the big cities. But this year, the government has tightened the eligibility criteria and is enforcing regional commitments more strictly than ever. The list of occupations eligible for regional sponsorship has been narrowed, and applicants must now provide stronger evidence that they genuinely intend to live and work in regional areas. Authorities are conducting more follow-up checks, and those who try to game the system by moving to a city soon after arrival are facing visa cancellations and bans. The message is clear. Regional visas are for people who are truly committed to building a life outside the major urban centers. For many, this means weighing the benefits of extra points against the reality of living in a smaller community, sometimes far from family or established networks. If you're considering the regional route, be prepared to prove your intentions and embrace the lifestyle. We'll discuss the new financial requirements and why they're catching so many applicants off guard. The sixth rule is the introduction of tougher financial requirements for PR applicants in 2025. Gone are the days when a basic bank statement would suffice. Now the Department of Home Affairs wants clear, verifiable proof that you have the financial means to support yourself and your family, if applicable, throughout your initial years in Australia. This means higher minimum savings thresholds, stricter scrutiny of the source of your funds, and more detailed documentation. The government's goal is to ensure that new migrants don't become a burden on public services or struggle with the rising cost of living. For many applicants, this has been a rude awakening. Students and young professionals, in particular, are finding it harder to meet the new benchmarks, especially with the Australian dollar's strength and inflation driving up living expenses. Families must now show they can cover not just tuition or rent, but also health insurance, school fees, and everyday costs for every dependent. If your finances aren't in perfect order, your application could be refused without a second glance. In the final section, we'll reveal the seventh rule, a change that's reshaping the entire migration landscape, and what you need to do to stay ahead. The seventh and final rule is the introduction of dynamic, rolling policy updates throughout the year. Unlike in the past, when major changes were announced annually, the Department of Home Affairs now updates eligibility criteria, occupation lists, and processing priorities on a rolling basis, sometimes with little or no warning. This means that what's true today might not be true next month. and applicants must stay constantly informed to avoid being caught out by sudden shifts. The only way to stay ahead is to monitor official announcements, subscribe to trusted migration news sources, and be ready to adapt your plans quickly. In 2025, flexibility and vigilance are just as important as qualifications and paperwork. If you're serious about securing your Australian PR, you can't afford to rely on outdated advice or assumptions. Stay proactive, double-check every detail, and remember, in this new era, knowledge is your most valuable asset.